Okay, if you saw my last video, it was about a cell, a 1 centimetre battery. As interesting as that was, I that evening went to bed and I couldn't sleep. The reason for that is because my mind was ticking over, continually thinking about various materials, various electrolytes, and surface areas, stuff like that. So today I've had a bit of a play, and I'm just going to run through that 1 centimetre battery again first off, and then what we've got isn't the regular dual thief, the 12 LEDs, current and voltage. Now what I'm going to do first is, that's a known battery. I think it's down to about 0.8 on the volts. Yeah, 0.8. Okay, and it's 0.8, not on load as well. So that's that. This one is a brand new battery. There you go, nice and bright on the LEDs. 1.4 volts on low, and just adjust that a minute. And we've got 32 milliamps. So that's a brand new AA size cell. This is my original trusty old, the very first one I made. I made a few since, but I've scrapped a few as well because they just, in my mind, weren't good enough. So that, we're reading 5 milliamps, and the voltage is 0.6. Yeah, okay. What we'll do is try the offload voltage on that one. Which is 1.4. Now I'm not really happy about that, because I just think that it can be so much better, which is what this is all about today, really. I'm going to just try that again. I don't know why it's hard to get a connection today. There we go, 5 milliamps, 0.6. So the voltage drops quite significantly for one, and the current for some reason isn't that great, but I know for a fact that if you short that on the current, you get a better reading. Shall we try that now? No. Well, that should be reading there, so I quite know what's going on. Okay, there you go, 21 milliamps. And hold it. So I'm now thinking to myself, why does it not draw any more current than that from the cell when you connect it? Now we'll just do that again. We'll connect it back up again, and it draws 7 milliamps there. Voltage drops to 0.6. So that one I don't quite understand yet, but I'm not going to worry about it. So we've seen the two batteries, we've seen that. I won't go into that one. we'll move onwards and upwards. So this 1 centimetre cell, I used a piece of copper, carbon. Now this is carbon fibre weave, and the zinc, plus a separator. So I'll use the same electrolyte mix. I'm going to try that one. So positive to there, and our negative to there. Away we go. Now that's a 1 centimetre cell. Voltage is at 5.6. Current, it's 500 milliamps. The next thing is, I started thinking about, apart from surface areas, I started thinking about other materials. Now I chose zinc because zinc is quite good. I could have, well, I did actually look at aluminium too, and if I find a piece of aluminium, it's a bit big, but it's the only piece I've got at the moment. We'll take the zinc away, we'll connect up a piece of aluminium, and we get Zippo at the moment. Okay, so the LEDs are coming on, not too bright, current's way down, voltage is way down. So that's your piece of aluminium or aluminum. Back to the zinc. LEDs are on. Same sort of current level, same voltage. Now, I had to think to myself, well, in that cell, we're using magnesium. So, I thought, what's the difference between that and magnesium? So, I know that's bigger than our centimetre, but you know, there's not a lot in it, so we'll try magnesium. Now that is a world of difference. Straight away the voltage is 0.8 and the current is way up. Today I've turned up the dual thief circuit, so it draws more current. So there we go. Okay, it's dropping, we know it's going to drop, but that is the difference between your zinc and your magnesium. Big difference, 23 milliamps there, big difference. We're almost now up to what we've got there, albeit the voltage is slightly less. So this is the bit about materials. Apart from the current collectors, the materials used within the cell. Now, whatever I do today, I'm going to use that same electrolyte. I'm not going to change it. It's the Laser Saber mix, and I'm sticking with that for the time being, because otherwise you get into too many areas. There's going to be plenty of time to mess around with. Once I find the metals and the current collectors that I want to use, and some of the other properties like the carbons or whatever, I'm going to stick to those, and then I'm going to move on to the electrolytes. But if I try and do all of that today, it's not going to work. Now, the other thing was, we know what the magnesium does, but what if we put the zinc back on top of the magnesium? almost the same current, almost the same there. So that tells me straight away that we don't need a huge piece of magnesium. We could use a thin sliver underneath the zinc if we wanted to, and away we go. So that is a pretty good combination. So we've got copper, carbon, separator, magnesium and zinc. Now, the only other thing I could think of, without sort of getting into graphite and graphene at this stage, I'm thinking about this carbon. Now, carbon fibre on its own, and I do believe that Mr. Maurice Smith had a hand in developing this stuff at, I think it was Southampton University. But this stuff, the carbon fibre itself, is very conductive. And if I were to take that, which is our positive side, and connect it up to that copper there, so I haven't connected it yet. We've got the negative on the anode, cathode, oh, I can't remember. Anyway, there's your connection. That is straight through a piece of that carbon fibre weave. So we know what that does. I think that's pretty good. Next I thought, well, carbon. Okay, we're sticking with carbon. Activated carbon. Shall we try just a smidgen of activated carbon on top of our existing carbon? Just wet that out with a bit of electrolyte. Back on with the separator. Back on with the magnesium. There we go. Look at the difference. 1.1 on the volts, 25 milliamps. Now we're really getting close to that. LEDs, nice and bright. Now I'm just thinking, what is the voltage off load? Okay, 1.1 volts. Now this is all a bit hit and miss because I'm trying to do it one-handed. I don't know what's got contact with what. Okay, that's a better contact. 1.3 volts and climbing. Now obviously the materials they need to sort of settle really, and you know, you need everything to start working together with, you know, the carbon with the electrolyte, I suppose. But yeah, that's climbing. So, not bad then. The other thing I did try, I think, was to move the carbon fibre weave away and just go with activated carbon. This is a bit of a mess now. If this works, it'll be a miracle. Okay, better voltage, 1.45. That's not bad. So that's without the carbon fibre weave. Then I thought, could we do away with the copper? So back to the carbon fibre weave, back on there with everything else, connect up to the carbon fibre weave and try that. 1.4, but can we draw current through the carbon fibre weave? Well, I know we can. And there you go, 26 milliamps. And it started at 1.2 volts. Now we know this can get better with more surface area. I'm just going to try this zinc back on top. .3 and without 1.3, so not a major difference there. So that's back to using a cheaper material. And the current, yeah, 22 milliamps, and without 23 milliamps. Okay, so not a huge difference there. But this is all getting very interesting. Now, I know that 1 centimetre battery there, with the magnesium and with that setup, with or without the copper, will run on for quite a while, because I did try this before. So the next best thing that you can do, I guess, is to move up to a larger footprint on the battery, which is obviously what I tried. Now we're going to discount the aluminium, we know that, we can forget that. This was a piece that of carbon fibre weave and the separator that I used earlier on to test this, so we'll just use that again. Now, okay, you've got your copper, we'll put some electrolyte on there, some fresh carbon fibre weave. I've actually got some activated carbon on there as well, and here is a piece of our zinc. All this is just a larger footprint, obviously. So that's all connected. 0.9 on battery voltage, and amazingly 0 elsewhere. So back to it again. 0.8, no LEDs. Because it's not connected. Now that's not an amazing battery voltage really. So what do? We can go back to our magnesium and try that. And hey presto, 1.5 volts. Now considering the footprint there of that magnesium, which is 18 mil, that's not bad. So we've got a 50 mil square piece of copper, 50 mil square piece of carbon, and on the separator, and 18 mil on the magnesium. So if I take that there, connect up the LEDs again, or the dual thief, and go again, see what we get. 30 milliamps, 1.3 volts, well, almost 1.4 volts. So this is where I'm getting confused now, because we've got a much larger footprint on the bottom section of the battery, and then a much smaller footprint on the top. 50mm, 18mm. The only thing I can think of with this magnesium is that it's obviously a denser material in some way. I don't know. I haven't checked that out really, but I would imagine it's a denser material, and the power factor is a lot better. So I'll do a bit of research on that now. Now I know what's going on and what you can achieve. So I mean, at 30 milliamps, that's pretty good. So basically, this really was just to go through the various materials, be it your metals and other materials within the cells, you know, carbons and all that. Now we've not gone anywhere near graphite at all yet. What I'm going to do is connect up to the carbon weave. That's without the copper, and I think we know this is going to work because we saw that with the other battery cell. Okay, here we go. Again, almost 30 milliamps, 1.3 volts, no copper. So this is now telling me that that carbon fibre weave is, well, it's good gear, isn't it? It's got a purpose. Now, it's costly material, so that's the other side to this. You know, would that carbon fibre cost more than that? Meter for meter, I'll check that one out. But look at that, you know, lovely and bright. It's holding good voltage and good current, and that's just with that same electrolyte, the laser saver mix, as I call it. What I need to do now is, now I know where I am with materials, obviously try different electrolytes, but I'm not going to now go to other materials. It will be copper, zinc and the magnesium. Those are the three metals that I'm going to experiment with, full stop. So just have another little look at that, and there we go. Now you see, talking about Robert Murray Smith, I've looked at all the questions and answers that other people have fired at him and the answers that he's given, and to be honest, a couple of times, even with me, I thought, well, you know, you could have been a bit more helpful there, because he always seems to say, yeah, just experiment. And you know what, I've come to the conclusion he's bang on there, absolutely correct. You've got to experiment yourself. See, there is no point in asking someone, let's just say for an example, you were in an exam at school or college or wherever, university, wherever it is. You're in an exam, you sat in a room and you don't know the answers to the questions, but you ask the chap next door that sat next to you and he gives you all the answers. Well, that's fine, but what have you learned? Absolutely zero. Nothing. Nada. So in that case, what you should have done was swatted for a length of time and come up with the answers yourself. And it's the same with this. So, you know, my apologies to Robert Murray Smith for sometimes thinking that, you know, you're not that helpful, when in effect he is, because he tells you what to experiment with and he gives you clues and hints as to roughly where to go with it. And there you go, Mr. Murray Smith. I've also learned quite a bit from Pete in Australia there, and a lot of other people, Laser Saber especially. You know, so you've just got to experiment, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, the other thing, yeah, my I don't know whether you've even seen the other video about these materials and the resistances, which I proved, I think, on screen that we were down to 0.4 ohms. This stuff we know is conductive. It's plastic made from styrofoam. Now if I pop that on top of there, put the magnesium on top of that, what do we get? Well, nothing. I don't know why, especially with the resistance of that material. Let's try and put it underneath the separator, the magnesium back on top. Ah, now then. It didn't like to be on top, did it? But it doesn't mind being where the carbon is. So, again, food for thought. Now that is literally, let's try that without a load. Okay. And we've still got good voltage. Climbing, yeah, all the time with my plastic material. So again, I can only say that my measurements must be almost correct. You know, that is a very low resistance material. So there's another one for me to think about. Where do I take that? At the moment, I don't know. I've got no idea. But that's the material that contained the flake that I produced in another video with a 3-time expansion, as I call it. So now, if we look at my material again on the copper, I honestly don't know what's going to happen now, because I have not tried this at all. So again, it's where the carbon is, and we need to connect up to that copper there. So we've got copper, my material, carbon with a weave, and magnesium. Let's try that. Not under load first. So we'll drop the load off and see if we get a voltage. Now, as I say, I haven't tried this, so .5 volts. So that is from the copper through my material, through the carbon fibre weave, and again, if we disconnect that, go straight to the carbon fibre weave, we get 1.5 volts. And if we go back to the copper, which is through my material, 1.5 volts. Let's try that under load. Never any good, this one-handed business, but there you go. Ground. 30 milliamps, 1.3 volts under load. That's, I think, pretty good. Now, I just noticed that there was possibly a part of the weave touching the copper, so I've moved it out of the way, and we go again, just in case. I hope that wasn't the case, but here we go. No, 30 milliamps, 1.3 volts. So there you go. Now that is through this material. Now what we can do I'm not going to bother trying the aluminium because it doesn't work. So what we need to do here is if we leave the copper on the bottom. Now I've also just noticed that there's a bare piece of copper there, so I've moved the material away and the rest of it is fine. So we've got that. Let's make sure that works again first. Okay, now if I put my material back into play on top of the separator, let's try that. Yeah. I think we established earlier on that it doesn't like to be there, does it? So how can we do this? Yes, we can. Okay, we'll put dissimilar metals is what we want. Okay, so we'll put all of that on there. And we'll put the copper on the top, but I think that's maybe is going to be the wrong way around, but let's see. Let's just try that first. Okay, what are we forgetting? Ah, okay. Right then, so that's that. That again is through, obviously through my material. I wonder if zinc, oh yeah, okay, two dissimilar metals then. We've got zinc, my material, carbon fibre weave, separator, and magnesium, which again works. So I think that is telling us that that material is what it is. Where I'm going to take it from there, if I'm going to use it as a layer, I don't know, but for the moment I'm just going to continue working on what I've got here, as in carbon, copper, zinc and magnesium. As I say, I'm not going to change from that. You can try and do too much, and if I had a 40-foot bench, then that would be another story, but I could have all sorts of little experiments on the go, with taking notes of course, continually. I'm quite impressed with that. That's, the footprint of that through that, it speaks volumes, but then it doesn't. So what sort of a footprint can you get away with? I just don't know. If I go back to that little square, back to a small separator, back to the magnesium, what does it do? Yeah, you see, there you go. So in some instances it's all about surface area, and yet in others like that it's not. So is it volume of electrolyte? That's it, you see. You've got to experiment with it. There we go. A larger volume of electrolyte. Now I don't know if we can fold that to give us a different surface area. Okay, there you go. Obviously we've still got the same volume of carbon electrolyte in the material, because it's now 4 layers thick. But that's another thing to work out, your footprint of various materials, isn't it? So happy days. I'm quite enjoying myself now. So I hope that someone out there has learned something, as I have. The reason I chose carbon fibre weave was because I knew of its properties. I've known that for years, because I used to have a lot of dealings in various resins and glass fibres and stuff like that. So I've always known that I've seen a few carbon fibre dashboards catch on fire on racing cars. So I knew of its electrical properties years ago. I've only recently found out, of course, that Robert Murray Smith had a hand in developing this. So yeah, I hope I'm right there. Someone told me that. If it's not true, Robert, I'm sorry, but I think it is. I think it came from a good source. So there we go. Keep experimenting. 2 words, 2 good words, 1 good phrase. Keep experimenting. Back on with the zinc. Almost as good, not as good. 1.2. You've got to make sure you've got good contact as well. 27 milliamps with the zinc, 1.2 without, with, I should say, 27 milliamps, 1.2. So (27) 1.2. I'm sticking with that, because obviously the zinc is a far cheaper material to buy than the magnesium. So maybe a thin slither of magnesium, or even another form of magnesium, maybe, I don't know, maybe doping the cell with magnesium flake, I just don't know. That's a point, actually. So that is no magnesium. Somewhere, there it is, I've got a file. I wonder. Okay, there's only a little bit, but I've doped it with magnesium. So back on with the zinc. There you go. So again, that tells us that a small amount of magnesium will do the trick. I.e. maybe a foil or something like that. I mean, this is, I don't know, about 0.3, 0.4, I believe. No, don't know where my measuring implement is at the moment. It's a bit untidy in here, but well, there you go. We'll leave it at that. there's a lot to go and have a play with there. I'm going to take this carbon fibre to another level. I'm not going to discuss that now because I don't really like to discuss things I think I'm going to do. I like to just get on with it, do it, and I don't mind sharing it then. It's pointless me talking to you about a concept. Robert Murray Smith, proof of concept. Prove your concept, don't talk about it, prove it. Okay folks, it's been quite long again, so I didn't intend for it to be this long, but it is. But look, I'm sharing and it's interesting stuff, so let's go with that, and you can all go away and experiment. There we go, through my plastic mix. So I think as well, graphite is going to come into play somewhere. I just don't know where yet. I'm going to have a long think about that one. You need to work things out. You need a direction, and then that direction can take you in down all sorts of other avenues, and you know, it can be like a tree and it grows and grows and grows into various branches, and that's what I say earlier on about trying to do too much, so we don't want to do that. But there you go. I'll speak to you soon. Another 5 minutes on the end of this one. There was a friend of mine here at the time when I was making this video, and at the end of it he said to me, well, what's your ultimate goal? You need a goal, something to aim for. My goal at the moment is this. I want to produce a battery, not like that you use and throw in the bin, although most people think they're flat, they're not. You can stick them on a jaw thief, we know that. But end of life, throw it away, well, recycle it. My goal, I mean, you can buy one of those, that again is rechargeable. That's fine. You put it in a charger and you use some more energy to recharge it. So I don't want that either. My goal is to make a cell that will regenerate itself. Now we know it's possible because that one does it all the time. All the time. Crystal cells, we know they regenerate, and we know they go on forever and ever. If you draw the right amount of current, the current that they regenerate, they just go on. We know that. But I looked at that guy in America. He's made those 12-inch panels, those black crystal cell technology panels with graphite. Can't remember whether that was the anode or the cathode. It was one of them. In between he's got this gel electrolyte, and in that he reckons he's got, let's get this right, silicon crystal technology, silicon crystals, and from what I've seen of his videos, they work, but they have to regenerate. It looks like it's extremely good technology. They get better with heat, give off more voltage, which will give off more current. So I would like to come up with something like that regenerates itself. Now if you said you'd got a panel such as that and it could draw, let's say, 1 amp of current, so you put a load on it and you draw 1 amp, now you're going to see a rapid decline in the voltage. So you disconnect your load, let the cell settle, let the cell regenerate, then you put your load back on, your 1 amp. Now you could do that forever. That's not where I want to be. Where I would rather be is to have a cell like that and not draw that full load, for it to be able to allow itself to regenerate. Now that's, again, is fine, but you're not utilising it to the full capacity. So the other thing I was thinking about, and I've been giving this a lot of thought just lately, let's just take the 1 centimetre battery. Doesn't last long, does it? Now you disconnect it, it regenerates, and then you go again. Now I've been trying to think of a circuit that, if you had 10 of those cells, let's say, and you could switch from one cell to the other, you know, you go 1, 2, 3, cell 4, cell 5, within a given period of time. You look at the current drain, and you switch batteries, let's say every 5 seconds. By the time you get back to the first cell, it's quite possibly regenerated enough to give you another 5 seconds. Now I've got an IC in mind it's a 4017. It's a binary counter with 10 outputs, and that's the chip I'm thinking about using. Now unfortunately, the chip, to drive the chip, the lowest voltage, I think from memory about 3 volts. Now if I could utilise that chip to switch 10 cells with exactly the same load into either a dual thief or anything else, whatever it is, so that's that side taken care of. You've got to look at the input voltage, which is 3 volts, so you get a couple of decent cells together to give you 3 volts to power the chip. Now realistically you've gained not a lot, because you're still using 3 volts to power that chip. This is my train of thought now. So then I'm wondering if it is possible to have 2 lots of 3 volt cells powering up the chip, the circuit, because you also need a 555 timer or something like that for the clock pulses. Now, okay, you've got 3 volts powering the cell, powering the chip with 1 cell, or two together, and another 2. Now if you could build a small, I don't know, another small circuit that would alternate those 2, maybe a little flip-flop circuit, a couple of transistors, some capacitors, maybe that would work, and you alternate those 2 as well. I haven't given this a lot of thought, to be honest, but it was just a concept. Now if that would work, and you could also alternate on the input side of it with 2 lots of batteries and maybe a capacitor in circuit somewhere, so as they switch over, it makes no difference to the chip, it still sees a voltage for that, you know, split second, be it a nanosecond, a microsecond, whatever. I don't know what the chip can cope with on that side of it, but I've got to look into it obviously, but that's the concept. Now if you could do that, and on your 10, across your 10 outputs as well, switch individual cells, what would you have? Well, I think quite possibly you'd have a bit of over unity, surely. if that circuit required nothing more than the cells that you've got, and you can alternate between all of those cells to do your driving side of it and your supply side of it, wow. What a concept. So I've gone back on what I said earlier. I'm talking about a concept I haven't tried yet, and but that's that was to answer the question, where do I want to be? And that's really where I want to be. I want to produce a decent cell. Look at this, that is still drawing 22 milliamps. It's barely moving. So we've got something there, you know, carbon fibre, activated carbon, separator, and magnesium. Now this can go on for to what level I don't know. Various electrolytes. We've got our base materials, we know that. So obviously now try some electrolytes and try and up the initial current, which is possibly to do with volume. Get the voltage slightly higher, and away you go. There's a starting point. So there you are. That was my answer to his question. And I've gone on again, and this probably going to have to be a separate video now. I wanted to tack it on the end of the other one, but we shall see. Over and out.